Gonna be a no-brainer. That's not going to be a problem there. The fight that I think is going to be the one that is going to be open to question is the Shane Mosley, Canelo Alvarez fight, because of the fact that this guy's young, and they think that Mosley is done, but I'm wondering if he got enough for one last fight, man. That's
The two type fights in it.
There's only two. The ones you should win and the ones you have to win. That's all. This is the Bobby Miles, fight trainer, ex-boxer, fight promoter in residence. Started boxing at the age of 9 in Cincinnati, Ohio, following my cousin Ezra Charles around as a kid. Went to Woodward High School in Cincinnati, graduated from Woodward High School, was a football player, baseball player, track man, par excellence in Cincinnati. Started boxing while I was coming in the amateurs, fought in the amateurs, went from there into the military, started boxing in the Air Force under the auspices of the United States Air Force. Was pretty successful as a military boxer, won championships in the Far East, Northern Conference championships and whatnot. In the Pacific, was trained by the inimitable referee in professional boxing, Rudy Battle, who was my trainer in the military, who is now the boxing commissioner of the state of Philadelphia. As I've said, I've been a boxer, a trainer, a manager, and a promoter. In the process, I've trained fighters Davey Moore, Iran Barkley, Kenny Mitchell, Maurice Blocker, Simon Brown, to name a few. Most recently trained Michael Graham in his title quest for the heavyweight championship. Met Aaron Davis when he was an amateur, and we struck a resonant chord there, and we decided to do some things on a professional plan. I worked with Aaron for the past 4 years, Aaron Davis boxing, and we are getting ready to embark on a boxing program of our own at the professional level. Right now we have a gym full of aspiring boxers, but we've got about 4 boxers that we are targeting specifically out of Aaron's gym. That will be David Saunders, is the preeminent fighter. He is the one that we're going to showcase from the beginning. He is a junior welterweight that Aaron has been working with for the past 4 years. We feel that very shortly we're going to be embarking with him on a professional career. We also have a young man, Ronnie Lott, who is a cruiserweight, ex-football, college football player, an athlete. We have Jacob Lavi, who is another fighter that Aaron is training. And then we have a super heavyweight named Kareem R. that we'll be working with in the not too distant future. That would be the initial program that we'll be doing. So I would suggest that you look forward to some upcoming bouts. I've got a program that I want to initiate that's very innovative, and there's no question in our mind that we're going to be successful because we've got the talent to be successful. Before I started hanging around the gyms at 9 years old, following my cousin Ezra Charles, whom I'm sure if you're a boxing fan, you know who he was. In my estimation, he is or was, since he has no longer with us, but he is in my estimation the greatest fighter that ever lived. He was the best fighter as an amateur. He was the best fighter in every division that he fought in as a professional. And that was middleweight, light heavyweight, and ultimately he became the heavyweight champion of the world. He was known as the Cincinnati Cobra. So I think that when you do your research, you'll find out who and what he was as a fighter. I'm sure you recognize the fact that Cincinnati is also a hotbed of boxers.
It is.
We have had several famous fighters coming out of that city because that's one of the main things that we do in that area. Boxing, generally we're athletic, but boxing is the thing that has really made a big impact with fighters coming out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and the state of Ohio. As I said, I mentioned Ezra. In addition to Ezra, there was also Ike Williams, who I think was a great fighter, great lightweight champion. We also had another guy out of Cincinnati, Ohio, who was a very, very good welterweight. Never was a champion, but a very, very good fighter named George Sugar Costner. That's another fighter that I grew up under. Watching him, Wallace Bud Smith, a Cincinnati product, who did become a champion. Aaron Pryor, who is somewhat of a contemporary, who was also a world champion. Then we've had several other fighters out there, Tony Tubbs, Larry Donald, Charlie Banks, who was a good light heavyweight back in those days. Cincinnati is known for its boxers. So, that's just a few that I could name there. Eddie Bergen, another young fighter out of Cincinnati back in those times, who was a featherweight contender. As I say, we could go on and on extolling the virtues of Ohio boxing and Cincinnati in particular. That's basically what the foundation is. Joe was the greatest heavyweight of all times, in my estimation. They talk about Dempsey, they talk about all these other guys, but in my estimation, but then again, like I say, the record speaks for itself. The man was the heavyweight champion of the world for 12 years. So that says it all right there, And,
what about Sugar Ray Robinson?
I don't detract from the man's accomplishments and all of that, but as I've said before in reference to that, he made his reputation fighting white fighters. Not to say that there weren't some good white fighters, but that's who he made his reputation fighting. He never fought any of the guys from the Black Murderers or like Charlie Burley, Eddie Booker, Jack Chase, or any of those guys. None of those guys did he ever fight. And the great black fighters that he fought, like Henry Armstrong, guys like that were on the downside when he finally fought them. As I said, I don't take anything away from Ray as a fighter, because he definitely was a great fighter. But like I said again, I cast my vote as the greatest fighter was Ezra Charles. and also Joe Louis, in my estimation. Those are the two greatest fighters. Ali was a better fighter as an amateur than he was as a pro. When he became a professional fighter, he went into a lot of theatrics and whatnot, you know. And as I said, I think he was a better fighter as an amateur than he was as a pro. Another guy who I put in the great category, who never got the credit that he should, who was very much like Ezzard, was Larry Holmes, who I think was a better heavyweight than Ali. But in both of those instances, Ezzard came along after Joe Louis, and people somewhat resented the fact because of the fact that he was so great, meaning Joe. And Larry was unfortunate to come along behind Ali, who I feel he was a better fighter. So there you are. Mike Tyson is a product of his times. He had problems with all big heavyweights. You know, I predicted that Buster Douglas would beat him, and he did soundly. Evander Holyfield beat him soundly. You know, Lennox Lewis beat him soundly. Mitchell Green, if he had asserted himself, would have beat him. So, you know, like I say, Mike is a product of this time.